Hello, class. This is a quick PowerPoint on ethical issues in social work. This is a 3-hour workshop that I'm going to condense into a very short PowerPoint for you all. The quotes that I want to start off with is, do all the good you can by all the means you can in all the ways you can in all the places that you can at all the times you can to all the people you can as long as you can. You know, as social workers, the helpers, we really are motivated to help people. That's why you're here. That's why you're taking the class. You want to be helpful. Isaac Asimov said, never let your sense of morals get in the way of doing what is right. We don't always know how to handle situations, and sometimes we look at people's lives and we get confused because they live a life that may be different than our value systems. So we're going to look at ethics and values and what are the difference. So the ethics are the principles and the rules of acceptable and appropriate conduct. Ethics are derived from our values, where values are the principles and qualities that individuals and groups consider important or worthwhile. So our values represent our beliefs about what is desirable or good, and our ethics flow from those values. Our personal values describe what we consider to be good, right or wrong. Our professional values describe the fundamental beliefs that our profession holds about people. Morality is concerned with right or wrong, good or bad, and involves judgment. Law dictates what is legal, not ethical or moral. And the code of conduct, or code of ethics, is a formalized guideline of professional action. So in social work, we have beliefs. The value base for social work is a respect for people, equality, and non-discrimination. Some of the proximate values we have are policies related to the welfare of clients' rights, to health care, affordable housing, and some of the instrumental values, or the values that we act out, are respecting clients' rights to confidentiality, self-determination, which means we really believe that that clients have the right to choose their own way, and informed consent, meaning they know what. So some of the frequently cited values for social work are the idea that there's a belief in individual worth and dignity of all people. There's a respect for people, a valuing of individuals' capacity for change. Clients, that's another word is for self-determination. That there's confidentiality and privacy, providing individuals with opportunities to realize their full potential. So we also look at social change, social justice, non-discrimination, and a respect for diversity. We also have a willingness to transmit professional knowledge and skills to others through training. Some of the unethical behaviors, breaking confidentiality is obviously high up there on unethical behavior. Misrepresenting or working beyond one's level of expertise. Conducting improper or sexual relationships with clients, causing conflicts of interest such as entering into business or other dual relationships with clients. For example, say that one of your clients owned an auto mechanic store and you had a problem with your car and you said, oh, you brought your car there and got a discount. That would be considered a dual relationship with your client because you benefited as a result. A lack of informed consent or letting clients know their rights would also be an unethical decision. When is breaking confidentiality warranted? You know, a client formally authorizes the release of information if you're going to talk to somebody. A professional is called to testify in a criminal case. A client files a lawsuit against you as the professional. If a client threatens suicide or threatens to harm you, a professional becomes aware that a minor has committed a crime, that a minor is being used by adults as an accessory in a crime, or that a minor is a victim of criminal action. Those are all disclosable. There is an evidence of child abuse or neglect. or the child witnesses domestic violence. These are all reportable to the Child Welfare Agency. A client's emotional or physical condition makes his or her employment a clear danger, such as when an airline pilot has a serious drinking problem. Duty to warn. Duty to warn refers to the responsibility of a counselor or therapist to breach confidentiality if a client or other identifiable person is in clear or immediate danger. In situations where there is clear evidence of danger to a client or other persons, the counselor must determine the degree of seriousness of the threat and notify the person in danger and others who are in the position to protect that person from harm, such as the police. So in California in 1985, a psychologist was warned by a young man who was stalking a young woman, and that psychologist did not warn the family, and the man ended up killing the young lady. So if as professionals we are aware of a serious or actual threat against a person, a victim, then we have a duty to warn as a result of the Tarasoff decision in 1985. So one or more options have to be discharged in order to have been considered following your duty to warn. You have to notify the victim, you have to notify the police, possibly a voluntary hospitalization of the person making the threat, or if they don't go voluntarily, then an involuntary hospitalization, or other reasonable steps is what the courts decided. In Ohio, though, we're going to look at the Ohio law. So in 1997, Ohio passed House Bill 71. This limits the liability to explicit threats of immediate or serious harm to a clearly identifiable victim or structure in the professional beliefs that the patient has the intent and ability to carry out the threat. So you have to have both of those things, a threat and the belief that they can carry out the threat. The explicit threat must be made to the clinician by the patient or a knowledgeable person, and the knowledgeable person is someone who believes the patient intends to carry out the threat to seriously harm an identifiable victim. So here are some of the limits of the duty to warn. In other words, if you disclosed confidential information about somebody without having these, you could be sued. You have to have an explicit threat of harm. It has to be directly communicated. It has to be a serious or imminent. It has to be an identifiable victim, and has to be the intent and the ability to carry out the threat. So you can't be sued if you take one or more of the following steps in a timely manner. You have to initiate efforts to hospitalize that patient on an emergency basis. There are mobile crisis teams in almost every area of the country, and you have to call the mobile crisis team, or even call, the ambulance to come and have somebody taken to the hospital for an emergency evaluation. Have the patient involuntarily or voluntarily hospitalized. You have to document a treatment plan that is reasonably calculated to eliminate the possibility that the patient will carry out the threat, and arrange for a second opinion risk assessment. So 2 people have to complete this type of an assessment. And you have to communicate to the law enforcement agency where the victim lives or where the mental health patient lives, and you want to communicate to each potential victim. So a really important thing for all social workers to do is document everything that they do. So you have to document it, or it's like it never happened. And you should always consult with a supervisor, a lawyer, somebody that can help you make sure that you've completely discharged your duty to warn. You have to document which of the 4 options you choose and why you rejected the other options. The law indicates that the mental health professional or organization may give special consideration to the option which would least abridge the rights of patients while protecting public safety. So again, this is something that you would consult legal advice for in your agency or with your supervisor. Paternalism is the idea that I know what's best for you. It's that you see the root of paternal, which means father. So it's this idea that you are fathering or parenting your clients. So this whole slide is really about questions that you ask yourself about how much are you invested in making decisions for other people? rather than letting them make decisions for themselves. In a crisis or in counseling, it's really hard to maintain objectivity because we have our own internal, our thoughts that are running through our mind, our feelings that are running through our mind about whatever the person in front of us is feeling or doing. And we can be almost put into a crisis by the person in crisis if we're not really able to separate our own selves from what's going on. So objectivity is defined as the capacity to understand situations and people without bias or distortions. It allows social workers to understand clients' feelings, thoughts, and behaviors without allowing personal values and beliefs and biases to contaminate your understanding. Assumptions are distortions or false conclusions based on reasoning, incomplete information, or bias. When you make assumptions about why people are acting the way they are, it's your attempt to understand your prejudices and your preferences. Listen to, but don't be controlled by the opinions of others. You need to develop self-awareness around your own personal needs and your values. And you have to explore each client's situation and discover his or her unique perspective. You want to brainstorm other points of view and seek other opinions. You want to check your conclusions with the clients to see if they match theirs, and we really want to monitor any cultural agenda bias that you may have. Sometimes we over-identify with the problem of the person in front of us. Their story may sound like a story that we've lived or people that we know have lived. We may think that we understand. So you need to be really alert to any strong negative or positive reactions that you have to clients. Refer clients to other people if you can't be impartial. Know why you want to be a counselor and understand your own needs. You need to use colleagues to critique your reactions and to give you feedback. And use tools such as video recording to review your interviews for inappropriate attempts to influence or control your clients. Sometimes we get over-involved, and this can promote client dependency on us. In crisis intervention, we have to be really careful because people are at their lowest point. So anytime you seem like you're being helpful, if you do more than you should for a client, you're going to create dependency of them on you. You're going to develop a wellness program to ensure that you are not relying on your clients to meet your own needs for social and psychological involvement. Recognize warning signs. Are you going overtime in your interviews? Are you relieved when clients don't show up? Are you reluctant to say goodbye? There are a lot of us that get our personal needs met through our work with helping other people. We like it when other people come to us with their problems. We like it when people talk to us about things that they don't talk to other people about. It makes us feel very important. So some of the personal needs that you need to be aware of is the need to be liked, the need for status or prestige or power, the need for control. If you're somebody who always has to be in control of a situation and people always have to do what you say, then this is going to be a very difficult profession for you. Perfectionism, an unrealistic pursuit of excellence, can negatively affect counseling. If people feel like they're letting you down and that they're not doing it good enough for you or your standards, that will deter them from seeking support from you. Any unmet social needs that you have, if you don't have your own friends, if you don't have your own social life, and you want to spend time with people that you work with, then not coworkers, I'm talking about clients, then those are some issues that you might have. Self-awareness is the key to not getting sucked into being over-involved, to over-identifying, to lacking objectivity. The effects on the clients, if you do any of those things, is that social workers who lack self-awareness can fail to understand or accept the needs of their clients, and they're more likely to take their clients' behaviors too personally. Clients who should be open, confiding, and grateful for assistance often aren't, and often with good reason. The untrained worker, however, remains unaware of the reasons and ultimately feels like a failure, very angry, or even ill-used and burned out. Like we said before, values constitute a frame of reference for understanding and assessing clients and for making decisions and choices. So know what your values are. Know what you value and what you find to be important. In general, social workers are most effective when their values reflect optimistic and non-judgmental views of people.